Here are 3 different types of sandwich breads I make for my family. Starting with tortilla wraps, and you don't even need yeast or bread flour to make these. A lot of recipes I've found have called for seed oils, but I've replaced that with butter, which is just a win-win because it makes it taste better anyway. It's important to manage your expectations when it comes to homemade bread because it definitely won't last as long as shop bought, but it's so much better for you and has half the amount of ingredients. I'm a busy mum and I need things to be able to last, especially by freezing them. So of course I had to test these out and see how well they did after being frozen. The trick is to put them in a freezer bag whilst they're still warm so no moisture can evaporate. Make sure to use them within 3 months so you don't get freezer burn, and then defrost them in the microwave for around 30 seconds and they'll be just as soft as they were before. Remember to wrap your wraps whilst they're still warm to stop it from cracking, and also it helps not to overfill your sandwiches. The ingredients for this recipe is in the caption below. The next bread I use all the time is my homemade focaccia. I love to experiment using different types of flour for this recipe, like wholemeal flour or spelt. And again, you'll have all these ingredients in your cupboard. Unlike the wraps, this is a no-knead dough, so you don't need a kitchen mixer. It's so much easier because you just need to use the stretch and fold method to build up gluten bonds. Focaccia has a high water content in the recipe, as well as using quite a bit of olive oil. Both these things combined make this a really moist and soft bread, and you won't get that hard crust like you do on a regular loaf. Because I use this for sandwiches for my children as well as my husband, I don't put any strong flavours on top like rosemary or olives. I'll only put some salt and pepper, and then I really go to town with the fillings of the sandwich. This is my husband's favourite. It's kind of a cross between a BLT and a tomato and mozzarella with some balsamic glaze on top. This bread lasts for around 4 days, and of course you can freeze it too. Lastly, at least once a week I'll make this large crusty loaf. The recipe is linked in my bio, and so many of you guys have made it now. I love seeing your pictures. Even though it's my recipe, you guys have basically done the experimenting for me. I now know that you can crust it with sunflower seeds, you can make it with rye flour, and it still works. The best thing about this recipe is that it only has 2 grams of yeast for such a large amount of flour which is used. The yeast starts off the reaction, but it's the long proving time of up to 16 hours which really gives the bread its rise. You can see how wobbly this bread is and how many bubbles there are just after being left overnight. Because of all this, it is so similar to a sourdough in the taste and texture, and it will have the same benefits to your gut health and microbiome as sourdough bread does. I'll normally make 2 batches of this at a time, so I have 2 loaves, one for now and one for the freezer. It goes really well with meat fillings like beef and horseradish, or ham and cheese, or even tuna and sweet corn. And if it ever goes stale sitting on the side, I'll use it up for croutons or blitz it up into breadcrumbs. If you got to the end, thanks so much for watching. I'll put more information on the recipes in the caption below. Bye!